Welcome everybody. Hey, how we doing today? Hope you're doing well. Crazy that if you're watching with us live here, if you're jumping on live, we're after Christmas, jumping into 2022. If you're watching this as a recording, who knows when you're at? But it's good to be with you today. It's good to be back, kind of jumping into some regular rhythms, regular gathering spaces. Hey, what I want to do today for just a couple minutes is talk to you just about setting some leader expectation framework that we use. How this came up was actually I was on a coaching call last week, and we were just kind of talking about the different expectations that leaders and or people around us that will come to in the midst of as we're trying to lead them. And one of the things that we see quite consistently is that if people are unsure of what your expectations and desires are for them, that it can lead to sometimes some internal frustration, disappointment, whatever. And a lot of that is because simply we don't often set the expectations for what we desire and what we want for the leader. So this came up in a coaching call last week. I thought, man, this would be actually a really good framework for those of you to kind of hear, to understand. I'm putting this in my regular profile. This is normally something that we do in our leader group, but I'm going to do it. I'm actually streaming it in both of them right now. So here's the kind of three expectations that leaders come to us with, right? Number one is there's some leaders who want to be a part of helping make the decisions, right? So they'll come into a space, a meeting, a conversation with you with that at the forefront of what they want to be a part of, saying, hey, I want to be a part of helping make this decision. So that's one kind of position that somebody around us can take. Number two is that they can desire to have input, right? So they're not necessarily concerned about making the decision, but really it's more about, hey, can I give input? And then somebody else can go make the decision, right? So that can be kind of the second expectation. The third expectation is that they simply want just information. Oh, right. So they're like, okay, so the decision's been made, input's been gathered, but just what, like give me the information in terms of what is happening. Now, here's how where we kind of see this is when there's differing expectations between people and leadership around the desired input or function of the people coming into that space. I'll give you an example. So a couple of years ago, I was working with a college and young adult ministry leader in Oregon, and it was a multi-day training and time that I was spending with him. And he had put me to stay with one of the board members. And now I had known from kind of conversations with him that there was some kind of tension between the staff and between the board. And so it was interesting because as I'm, sitting with this board member late at night, I'm asking him how church is going, how ministry is going, and he begins to kind of share some of this stuff. He begins to share about, man, there's kind of some frustration, some things that are going on. And I walked him through this framework, and I said, okay, let's talk through this, right? There's kind of three expectations. Number one is there is a desire for decision making. Number two, there can be a desire for input. And number three, there can be a desire for information. And it was literally like a light turned on, because what he realized is there was a function that people on the board of this church wanted to be a part of, and the staff had different expectations in terms of that board meeting. So the board is coming in saying, hey, we want to give input, we want to be a part of the decisions, and the staff was coming in on the other side saying, hey, we just want to give information in terms of what's happening in the ministry, where the church is going, what the next steps are, whatever. And it created this tension because one side wanted information from that space, the other side wanted to be a part of the decisions, and nobody had clearly identified or created expectations around that. So Now, you can probably begin to translate that even for your context, right? There's probably been times when you've walked into and maybe some volunteer leaders or staff members or whatever, there was like this tension around because there was differing expectations of a desire for what the role was going to be in that moment. So what had happened is there wasn't clear definition around, hey, is this a moment for decision making? Is this a moment for input? Is this a decision? Is this a moment for just giving information? And when you can begin to kind of frame the expectations, what it does is it begins to disarm people and kind of reset what you're wanting from them. So let me give you a couple examples, right? One of those is, let's say you're having an information meeting. Let's say it's a fall of 22, your college ministry, you're getting your leaders together, you're getting your college students together. It's important in that moment to frame the expectation of saying, hey, we're coming into this meeting. We want to share with you information about decisions that we've already made, right? So even in that statement, what you're saying is, this is not a moment for decision making, right? This is a moment for input. Or maybe you want feedback or input from some of your volunteer staff, right? So you have some leaders, some college students, some maybe parents, whatever, and you want to get input from them. It's important to set the expectations and saying, hey, we're not making a decision today. Like, this is not the time in which we're going to make a decision, but what we want from you is to get your input, and then we're going to take that input and then go make a decision. So what you've done is you've set the expectations of, this is not the decision time. We're not asking you to make a decision. We just want input. Then we're going to take that input and then go make a decision. Or you come to them and say, you know what? We need a decision made today. Actually, I did this with our team yesterday, as I needed to help them to come around me and help me make a decision about some things that were happening this week. And so it's important. What are you wanting from people? To have them help you make decisions? Do you want them just their input, or are you giving them information? And are you clearly setting those expectations with the leaders? Now, here's what I encourage you to do is, in a lot of ways, what you need to begin to do is understand where are those kind of different groups formed, right? Is where's the people that make the decisions? Where's the people that give input? Where's the people that simply get information? And make sure that you're clearly articulating. So 3 things framework, right? Sometimes people want to be a part of the decision. Secondly, sometimes people want to give input. Thirdly, sometimes people want to simply just get information. And our job as leaders is to set the expectations so there's not kind of tension of that people are expecting something different in that moment than what we're expecting, but we've clearly articulated what we're wanting, what we're looking for, and what is needed ultimately from them. So, decision, input, information. It's been a critical thing, man. We've talked with this about a lot of leaders. Man, hope this was helpful for you. You can probably begin to kind of see this in your different contexts about where this could play out, how you need to begin to think about some of this stuff. But this is a framework that we use all the time. So hope that was helpful. Couple nuggets from a coaching call that I had last week. Hey, if you need anything, early 22, if you're launching a ministry, you want to develop, would love to get on call with you guys, talk about ministry, talk about what's happening. Drop me just a personal DM, and we can talk about setting something up. So 2022, we're off to a good start. So looking forward to see what God's going to do this year. We'll see you later.